Hello everyone. Today our channel, the Goan Gynaec, is collaborating with Healthway Hospitals for our very first podcast. I'm Dr. Rini Naik Prabhu, consultant obstetrician and gynecologist at Healthway Hospitals. The first week of August is celebrated as World Breastfeeding Awareness Week by WHO in order to spread awareness regarding breastfeeding. And as we celebrate this breastfeeding week in Healthway Hospitals, today I thought we should invite a very special guest who sees the other side of the story, that is the baby's side. We welcome Dr. Maneka Fernandes, consultant pediatrician and neonatologist here at Healthway Hospitals. Welcome, Dr. Maneka.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rini, for having me here. This topic of breastfeeding is very close to my heart. This is one topic where the obstetrician and the pediatrician work hand in hand.
Definitely.
And we meet the same family but with a different perspective.
Exactly. And what I always see, Dr. Maneka, is that everybody prepares for labor. Everybody prepares for the birthing process. We have antenatal classes, yoga classes, but nobody prepares for breastfeeding. Do you see that?
Yes, absolutely. The parents feel that the baby instinctively knows breastfeeding and will, latch and everything will go. But in reality, the baby is learning, the mothers are learning,
exactly.
Even the fathers are learning how to support. It's all in one team effort.
Exactly. So now first let's talk about the benefits of breastfeeding. Dr. Maneka, can you tell us what are the benefits of breastfeeding for the baby?
Yes, so for the baby it provides all-in-one whole nutrition. Okay, it also helps to boost the immunity. And when it boosts immunity, the same baby will, it'll help the baby to prevent infections like diarrheas, repeated respiratory tract infections, otitis media. So this baby, as compared to a formula-fed baby, would definitely be healthier. And it also helps in the cognitive development of the babies. So the breastfed babies will definitely be intellectually better as compared to formula-fed babies. And this is evidence-based.
So another thing you guys will be surprised to know that breastfeeding is not only beneficial for the baby, but it's beneficial for the mother as well. The most important advantage of breastfeeding immediately after birth is that it helps you to release a hormone called as oxytocin from your body, which contracts the uterus, and that reduces the chances of developing a postpartum hemorrhage, that is heavy bleeding after delivery. Also, it burns a lot of calories. So thus it will help you to lose the weight postpartum, and it protects you against breast cancer. It reduces the chances of developing type 2 diabetes mellitus in the future. So it has so many advantages.
Yes, and not to forget financial, economic benefits, because
definitely.
it is freely available, and at any time the mother is, there's no need to prepare, there's no other, there's nothing hindering a mother from breastfeeding at any time.
And also, since it reduces illnesses in the baby, less healthcare cost for the parents as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So now in the next segment, let's talk about the misconceptions. I'm sure, Dr. Maneka, you must have heard a lot of myths about breastfeeding. So what is the funniest myth that you have heard?
So we have these grandmothers who are always there, in the room, or even when you come for consultations that follow up. So there is one terminology, in local Konkani terms, it is called Goan Gynaec. So they are always worried whether the baby needs deworming because of that. So they say that parat eka Goan Gynaec jata. Okay. So what exactly is Goan Gynaec is? It's actually a normal physiological stool which the baby passes, and they are as frequent as 10 to 15 times in a day. The baby passes immediately post feeding. So that's a gastrocolic reflex. Actually, it's very physiological and absolutely fine for a baby who's exclusively breastfed. So they have small amount of stools post every feed, and it can be even little watery with a little bit of pellet type of stools. It can be a little bit of yellowish in color or greenish in color. So the grandmother is always worried. So the grandmother even sometimes says that the mother's milk is not being digested. Each time दूध घेता, संडास करता, तो भुरगो वाडटलो कसो? So these are questions which they come and ask us in the OPD. So when we allay their anxiety and take away this misconception by telling them that it is absolutely natural and this is absolutely required for a baby who is being breastfed to have this many number of stools, and you can try to counsel them prior it happens only. So you counsel them on day 1 and day 2, and then the mother is relaxed. Otherwise it adds on to the emotional and to the anxiety of the mother. And if the mother is anxious about feeding, thinking that my baby's feed is not being digested, my feed is not being digested, then it sends a negative feedback to the mother, and then the breastfeeding is hampered. The lactation is hampered. So this misconceptions being dealt with initially will go a long way for the breastfeeding. So what about the funny episode which you have heard from?
So most of the times what I hear is that cesarean section. Most of all the mothers and the grandmothers especially, they are more worried ki if she has a cesarean section, their breast milk will not come. She'll have no breast milk supply. So this is the biggest misconception. The mode of delivery does not affect the supply of breast milk. So definitely after cesarean section, there may be some delay in the breastfeeding because of pain, little longer recovery period.
Absolutely.
But I think if you have a very good support system, this problem can be tackled right at the beginning.
So what we do here in our hospital is we have our trained staff who are encouraged to help mothers immediately post cesarean sections. And what we do is rooming in immediately within 1 hour of delivery. We help the baby to attach to the breast. So by positions like lying postures or football position, we encourage the mother and baby to have a good attachment. So attachment means how well a baby attaches to the mother's breast. So 4 points here we have to satisfy. So mainly first thing is baby's mouth has to be fully open, and it has to be close to the mother's breast, as close as the chin has to touch the mother's breast. The baby has to attach to the entire areola, most of the black part which surrounds the nipple, that is the areola, and the lower lip has to be everted. So if these 4 points of attachment are satisfied, then you don't have these breastfeeding issues which you tend to have because of lack of attachment.
So support immediately after delivery, either it's a normal delivery or a cesarean section, is a must.
Yes, absolutely.
So Dr. Maneka, what are the commonest challenges in breastfeeding that you see in your day-to-day practice?
So we have seen insufficient breastfeeding. Okay, so insufficient breastfeeding, there is also an overproduction of breastfeeds where the mother experiences breast engorgement. Okay, so if there is no timely hot water fermentation, so the areolas are also edematous. Okay, so this leads to improper latching, and then the mother tends to have sore nipples. Okay, that is itself painful. So the mother tends to prevent breastfeeding, which increases again the engorgement. It's a vicious cycle. So the having sore nipples, having engorged breasts, these are problems which we have to deal with in the first week of postnatal time. Okay, so this is one thing. Secondly, the baby sucks and sleeps. So this is absolutely fine and it is natural. So we have to awake and help the baby to latch again. So a sleepy baby itself again hinders latching. Secondly, if there is always a physiological part of jaundice which happens, so the baby is separated from the mother, but you can breastfeed in between the phototherapy episodes. Okay? And sometimes the mother is just anxious that my milk is not going to be enough. Okay, and what they do is they press and they see. So pressing of the breast is not at all to be done. The baby has to be frequently latched, especially even in the night time because of prolactin. Okay, so all these things are what actually hinder the breastfeeding in the immediate postnatal time.
And the most commonest challenge I face is when the mothers come completely exhausted, when they are in pain. So that then disturbs the whole breastfeeding journey.
With this, I remember how I used to be exhausted. So I will share you a small experience as a first-time mother. Though I am a pediatrician, though I have helped so many mothers with breastfeeding, when it came to myself, about feeding, my baby, I had actually overproduction. So I had to actually cut off like the baby feeding extended because baby used to overfeed and puke. And then by the end of the day, it used to be so exhausting that there used to be times when baby used to want feed, used to cry for a feed, but I was not able to feed. So that is the time where I, my friends, my senior pediatrician colleagues, and my close friends who already had experiences, I used to speak to them and tell them, what exactly is happening? Why am I not able to feed? So because I used to think like, then I could sense what would a normal mother think.
Exactly.
Because I knew I have to continue breastfeeding. For them, other option would be, let's introduce a one feed. What difference does it make? Yes. So then I had close friends who used to say, just relax. So I used to, give the baby to my parents or my husband and be away from the baby for some time. Take a brisk walk, have some meal, have some oats, have something, have a juice, and then come back to the baby. A short time, maybe 10 minutes away from the baby does help, and then you feel relaxed, and then you're able to continue your breastfeeding. So yes, it is very exhausting. There are different stories, and you need not, even if you are a professional, you can be having, because it's the hormonal play which happens postnatal. So first few week of postnatal time and the first 3 weeks, I would say, almost a month, the mother really needs absolute support from the family and friends.
Even doctors need support, guys. So ask for help whenever you need. So another thing, Dr. Maneka, I've seen my patients, they always say that, doctor, my baby is crying so much. Baby cries even after feeds. So, and they're so, they have that guilt. Is my feed not enough? So what do you have to say about that?
Yes. So baby will cry for many other things. Baby cannot speak, right?
Yeah.
So baby will cry just before passing motion, before passing urine, because they are uncomfortable. After passing, because yes, they are feeling wet. Yes. So that is their way of telling you, please change me. Or, there are times when baby just wants to be cuddled. So we have to swaddle the baby, wrap the baby, hold the baby, just rock the baby on a rocking chair or just walk with the baby, Sometimes what happens when you feed, there's a lot of aerophagia. They take in a lot of air. So just simple measures like burping the baby, giving a little bit of tummy time does go a long way. So we always discharge our patients having, giving all these things where the baby will cry and when they have to come to hospital.
Exactly.
So if there is excessive crying beyond half an hour, really not consolable, that is the time they have to come back to hospital. But not every cry is going to be for breastfeeds, because then you tend to overfeed and then there are vomiting episodes.
So crying, it's not a cry for help, maybe it's just cry for attention.
Yes.
So now we have an interesting segment in our podcast today, that is the rapid fire round. So one sentence answers only. Are you ready, Dr. Maneka?
Yes.
So let's begin. Breastfeeding hurts.
It shouldn't, but if it is, then you have to check for latching.
Formula milk or breast milk?
Breast milk, of course.
Yes, definitely. This is not even a question to be asked, right? Best indicator that baby is getting enough milk.
So a baby should pass urine at least 6 times in 24 hours. There has to be sleeping well in between 2 feeds and weight gain.
Pacifier in the first few weeks after delivery?
Absolutely no.
If the mother has fever, this is one of the commonest questions which people ask. If the mother is having fever, should she continue with breastfeeding?
Yes.
So this is another important thing, guys. If you have fever, if you have cold, you can continue breastfeeding. There is no contraindication for breastfeeding if the mother is having fever. Another question which most patients have is for working mothers. They often ask that should they continue with breastfeeding or should they stop breastfeeding once they join work?
No, so you don't have to stop breastfeeding. You can start preparing yourself maybe 1 or 2 weeks prior to joining your work. So you have to learn manual expression of breastfeeds, or you can use a breast pump. Okay, so you have to express at least 4 to 5 times in a day, and it has to be a session of around 10 to 15 minutes, where as you express, the milk supply will be less, and that's where you have to stop. So you have to store this milk in either glass bottles or steel containers, which are roll boiled in boiling water and sterilized, and stored in refrigerator. So how do you store it is, if you want to store for a few days, up to 3 days, you can store in the regular refrigerator in the back of the fridge, never in the door of the fridge. And the container should be well labeled, date, time should be put, and it has to be only kept for 3 days. If you want to keep for longer, then you can store in the deep freezer. The temperature for which milk you can store at room temperature is up to 25 degrees centigrade. When it is in the fridge, it is at 4 degrees centigrade, and it is -20 when it is in the deep freezer. So deep freezer you can store as long as 3 months. Anything more than 24 hours. But before you give the baby, it has to be thawed. So 24 hours prior, you want to use the deep freezer milk, you have to store it back in the regular refrigerator and then get it to room temperature. So once the milk is in room temperature, never boil the milk. So you have to have a container which is filled with hot to warm water, and you have to place your container with your milk, which is brought at room temperature, into the container, and then see that the refrigerated milk is coming to absolutely room temperature. It should be a little warm, just like how a mother's breast milk would be. And that milk is to be given with a palada or a spoon to your baby.
Okay. And how frequently should she express the breast milk when she's at work?
Yeah, so when she's at work, maybe every 3 to 4 hours, or whenever the mothers feel tightness of the breast, or they feel needle pricking around the nipple. So that is the time the body indicates that the breasts are full. So that is the time she can go carry the breast pump and express the feed, and please store in the fridge. So when you get back, you can keep it in the continue storing in the fridge, and your relatives or the family can give when you are away from the baby.
So Dr. Maneka, now to conclude with our podcast, one tip for the mothers that you would want to give.
So yes, so when the mothers are feeding, it has to be on-demand feeding. You don't go by the clock. As soon as the baby, don't wait for the baby to cry also. The baby gives small cues, like lip smacking, or putting hands in the mouth, or just being awake and searching. So that is the time you have to start breastfeeding, okay? And the crying is the last part of it, okay? Secondly, when you are eating, that is no scientifically proven, foods to be avoided actually, okay? But what we can encourage mothers to eat is feeds prepared with methi, like methi gruel or kanji, we say.
The galactogogues.
Yeah, galactogogues, which helps the mother to breastfeed. Take in a lot of water, because breastfeeding 80% is water. So you need to hydrate yourself well. Okay, so as you are expressing, have a glass of juice, or bite on an apple, or have a handful of nuts. Okay, so take care of your nutrition. And there are no foods to be avoided. So non-veg, veg, a lot of fiber-rich foods are to be encouraged for the mother to have. And also, please, you tend to forget that you are so much into the baby that you tend to forget. You have to have something for your recreation, or what you love as a hobby, or even
it's not
a
punishment.
Yeah, it's not a punishment. If you are happy, your baby is going to be happy.
Exactly. Another tip which I want to give to all the mothers is ask for help when you need it. Don't stay exhausted or in pain. If you have any problem, consult your gynecologist, consult your pediatrician, ask for help early.
Yes, absolutely.
Any advice for the family, Dr. Maneka?
Yes, please be there for the mother. Always be supportive. Okay, never use negative terms, and say things which will help, question her whether she is doing a good job. Always encourage her. Okay, and timely help, like you have said. And one thing I would like to tell her friends and family is, please visit, because she is not able to go out. Please visit and take something which she loves, like a cake.
People take gifts for the baby only.
Yeah, but yes, even in the hospital, just asking a small gesture like, how are you today?
Exactly.
Everyone asks about how is the baby, what is the baby doing, what did the doctor say, but nobody asks how are you.
Exactly.
So the small thing will go a long way.
Exactly. And another tip for the fathers, okay, you can be a part of her breastfeeding journey as well. It's not just about feeding the baby. You can get the baby to her at night. Suppose when the baby is crying, you can wake up and get the baby to the mother for feeds. You can get water for her. You can make sure she eats on time. Just be there for her and just tell her that, you're doing a great job, you're a great mom.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
that will do wonders to her mental health.
Yes. Breastfeeding is not about perfection. It's a phase of learning. It's a phase to support the mother. And it is a phase to learn for everybody.
Yeah. And every mother deserves support, not guilt. So if you're struggling, go consult your gynecologist, your pediatrician, or a lactational consultant. I think that is the gist of having this podcast today. So thank you, Dr. Maneka, for joining us. If you found this conversation helpful, please like the video, share it with everybody you know, subscribe and follow my channel, The Goan Gynaec, for more such evidence-based conversations about women's health and newborn health.